In response to U.S. chip sanctions and climate-related challenges, China is constructing a powerful ocean simulation system. Marks & Spencer Group has reported that hackers have compromised the personal information of their customers. In response to U.S. chip sanctions and climate-related challenges, China is constructing a powerful ocean simulation system. Marks & Spencer Group has reported that hackers have compromised the personal information of their customers. In Germany, authorities have conducted a police raid on a conspiracy theorist group known as Kingdom of Germany.
India's Prime Minister Modi has called on Pakistan to dismantle its terror infrastructure as a prerequisite for peace following recent clashes in Kashmir. He has stated that India has only temporarily halted military actions and will resume them if there are any more terror attacks. Senior Indian officials have refuted former U.S. President Trump's assertion that he was solely responsible for mediating a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. China has reiterated its territorial claims over India by releasing a new list of standard place names, which India has rejected, particularly concerning the renaming of locations in the Arunachal Pradesh border state.
A German defense startup is developing underwater drones to enhance naval surveillance capabilities. In India, a new plant for producing BrahMos missiles has been inaugurated, responding to increasing export demands and escalating regional tensions. Countries have gathered at the United Nations to discuss the regulation of killer robots, as current laws and guidelines are considered insufficient.
Flamingos skillfully generate water vortices to ensnare their food. Google is making a significant change to its G icon, marking the first update in a decade. The creator of Genshin Impact is exploring artificial intelligence to expand beyond the realm of gaming.
China's leader, Xi Jinping, has called on nations to come together in response to the ongoing global trade conflict. Vietnam is intensifying its efforts to combat imported counterfeit goods, particularly as discussions with the United States regarding tariffs continue. Reports indicate that Vietnam has been dismantling large-scale scam networks involved in producing fake games and financial products. Goldman Sachs and UBS have increased their forecasts for China's economic growth, following a temporary truce in the U.S.-China trade dispute. This truce includes a reduction in taxes on inexpensive imports from China, with the United States lowering the de minimis tariff on small parcels from China to 54%.
Trump has remarked that the European Union is more antagonistic than China, particularly because his tariff agreements have reportedly placed Europe at a disadvantage. Boeing is set to resume its deliveries to China following the lifting of a previous ban. Furthermore, Trump is advocating for reduced interest rates to mitigate the inflation that he attributes to his own tariff policies.
Wildfires are rapidly advancing in Russia's Far East, prompting Buryatia to declare a regional emergency. Research indicates that the climate crisis poses a significant threat to bananas, which are the most widely consumed fruit globally. Dr. Mariangela Hungria, a microbiologist from São Paulo, has been recognized as the 2025 World Food Prize laureate for her groundbreaking work in developing biological seed and soil treatments. These treatments enable crops to access nutrients through soil bacteria, leading to substantial increases in crop yields and a decrease in the reliance on synthetic fertilizers, thereby contributing to Brazil's emergence as a global leader in agriculture. Google is experimenting with an AI mode button within the Google search box. TikTok has introduced TikTok AI Alive, an innovative tool that transforms images into videos. Grok believes that Trump's narrative about a businessman receiving the fat shot is actually a reference to Elon Musk.
President Donald J. Trump achieved a significant milestone by securing a historic $600 billion investment commitment from Saudi Arabia. The United States and Saudi Arabia have entered into the largest defense sales agreement in history, valued at nearly $142 billion. This agreement will supply Saudi Arabia with cutting-edge warfighting equipment and services from more than a dozen U.S. defense companies. Furthermore, Amazon Web Services (AWS) has formed a strategic partnership with Humain, a company backed by Saudi Arabia. In the realm of artificial intelligence, NVIDIA plans to dispatch 18,000 AI GPUs to Saudi Arabia's state-supported AI data centers following the lifting of export restrictions. Saudi Arabia and AMD are also collaborating on a $10 billion project to deploy AI technology. Saudi Arabia's newly established AI firm has selected U.S. chipmaker Grok for its inference capabilities.
Dubai Finance and Crypto.com have entered into a groundbreaking agreement, marking the first of its kind, where the government of Dubai will permit cryptocurrency payments for fees, thereby enabling the use of cryptocurrencies to pay for government service fees. The SEC chair has expressed that blockchain technology holds promise for introducing new types of market activities. Furthermore, it has been reported that a VIP seat at Donald Trump's cryptocurrency-themed dinner was priced at a minimum of $2 million. In related news, Axios has mentioned that Democrats are urging Trump to divest from stablecoins.
Approximately 19 million children in the United States reside with a parent who suffers from a substance use disorder. A series of knife attacks in Japan has raised concerns about the possibility of similar incidents occurring elsewhere. Research indicates that men have a higher risk of succumbing to broken heart syndrome.
Trump announces that the United States will lift all sanctions on Syria, and he holds a meeting with Syria's former insurgent leader in Saudi Arabia. It is reported that Syria had previously proposed constructing a Trump Tower in Damascus prior to the president's meeting. In the United States, the Treasury Department is focusing on a global network involved in shipping Iranian oil, which is used to finance Iran's military and terrorist operations. Trump urges Saudi Arabia to participate in the Abraham Accords, which involve recognizing Israel.
Mexico's security chief has verified that 17 family members of Ovidio Guzman have traveled to the United States. This development is reportedly part of ongoing negotiations. A Mexican mayoral candidate was fatally shot during a live broadcast of a campaign rally. In Brazil, military police have killed the leader of a drug trafficking group in a favela in Rio.
Sweden has taken into custody a person suspected of espionage, according to television reports indicating that a diplomat is currently in detention. In Tajikistan, the act of liking social media posts that are considered extremist has been decriminalized. A United Nations agency has concluded that Russia was responsible for the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 in the year 2014.
The mobile gaming industry is experiencing a significant shift, becoming a volatile sector with spending on the rise. YouTube has announced plans to broadcast the first week of the 2025 NFL regular season game in Brazil, making it accessible to a global audience at no cost. China's Meituan is set to introduce its Kita food delivery service in Brazil, following its successful launch in Saudi Arabia, and has committed to a $1 billion investment in the country.
The FDA and RFK Jr. are working to eliminate fluoride supplements intended to safeguard children's dental health. For months prior, a government study revealed that children who are exposed to elevated fluoride levels tend to have lower IQ scores. RFK Jr. was seen swimming in Washington, D.C.'s Rock Creek, despite the National Park Service's warnings about bacterial contamination. Trump has claimed that he has figured out the system for reducing drug prices.
General Motors is set to introduce a new battery technology that is rich in manganese, which is expected to make electric vehicles more affordable by the year 2028. Baidu's Apollo division has partnered with CarInc to establish a rental service for autonomous vehicles. Baidu is planning to enter the European market with its driverless taxi service.
Bloomberg discusses how DeepSeek's founder, known as the tech madman, is posing a challenge to the United States' leading position in the artificial intelligence competition. Google's open-source AI models, named Gemma, have surpassed 150 million downloads. Furthermore, a new type of attack has been discovered that can steal cryptocurrency by implanting false memories into AI chatbots.
Airbnb now offers the option to book a chef or personal trainer during your travels. U.S. ski areas anticipate 61.5 million skier visits for the 2024-25 season, marking the second-best season in history. McDonald's has revealed plans to recruit 375,000 employees, with assistance from the former Trump Labor Secretary. Google is set to introduce ultra-wideband (UWB) technology for Android trackers this month, with plans to integrate them with luggage and airlines in the near future. Philips has unveiled 3D printable components designed for repairing products. PayPal has initiated iPhone NFC payments in Germany following the European Union's mandate for Apple to allow such integrations.
The leadership at Penn State is suggesting the shutdown of 7 campuses within the Commonwealth. In the United States, a bill introduced by the House GOP proposes increasing the tax on large university endowments to 21%. An investigation has revealed a significant espionage network linked to the Chinese Communist Party at Stanford University, highlighting extensive infiltration into American academic institutions.
The upcoming Nintendo Switch May 2nd have the capability to halt its charging process at 90% to extend its lifespan. iOS 19 is set to introduce an AI-driven battery management feature. Furthermore, the Bluetooth Special Interest Group has revealed Bluetooth 6.1, which promises enhanced power efficiency and security. China plans to allocate 27 billion Brazilian reals to Brazil, with President Lula emphasizing the unbreakable relationship between the two nations, while Chinese President Xi criticizes bullying during a meeting with Latin American leaders in Beijing. Colombia's President Petro is shifting focus towards China, expressing interest in joining the Belt and Road Initiative. China has successfully tested a bullet-shaped satellite, marking a significant step towards establishing a very low-orbit surveillance network.
New Zealand has experienced an unprecedented number of people leaving the country, which has resulted in a decrease in net immigration. In the United States, the names Olivia and Liam continue to be the most favored for newborns in 2024, marking their 6th year in a row at the top of the list. The mayor of Bologna has announced that the city's famous Leaning Tower is expected to be stabilized by the end of 2028.
Elon Musk claims that the United States is conducting a discreet experiment with Donald Trump's $5 million gold card, designed for the extremely wealthy. A budget airline in the U.S. has commenced deportation flights for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, as it launches its operations in Arizona. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, has been instructed to focus more on immigration matters, while the Department of Justice, DOJ, is reducing its emphasis on white-collar crime cases.
Recent indications suggest the existence of a large body of water concealed beneath the surface of Mars. The James Webb Space Telescope has observed Jupiter's auroras, which are characterized by their dynamic and vibrant display of light. A solar tornado, massive enough to engulf Earth, has been detected on a sun that is currently experiencing a period of low activity.
Samsung has introduced the world's first 500Hz OLED gaming monitor, known as the Odyssey OLED G6. The Wall Street Journal reports that Apple plans to enable brain implant control for its devices. Google has announced that 1 billion RCS messages are sent daily in the United States.
The Indian cabinet has given the green light to the establishment of a semiconductor manufacturing unit in Uttar Pradesh, which will be a collaborative effort between HCL and Foxconn. Intel has officially recognized Shell lubricant for its effectiveness in cooling AI data centers. NVIDIA is said to have increased the prices of its graphics processing units, GPUs, by a range of 10 to 15% as a result of escalating manufacturing expenses. These price hikes are attributed to factors such as tariffs and increased costs from TSMC, which are ultimately being passed on to retailers.
Janet Jackson is set to be honored with the Icon Award at the 2025 American Music Awards. Oasis's band manager has stated that the band currently has no intentions of creating new music. An unannounced title for a Super Mario Bros. Movie sequel, Super Mario World, was briefly mentioned in an NBC Universal press release before being removed.
The Trump administration has further reduced grants to Harvard by an additional $450 million, adding to the $2.2 billion that was previously put on hold. A GOP senator has proposed a bill to classify all pornography as a federal crime, aligning with the strategies outlined in Project 2025. Nazi propaganda materials dating back to 1941 have been found in the basement of the Argentine Supreme Court.
The Prime Minister of Peru has stepped down before a scheduled no-confidence vote. In Albania, the initial election results indicate a decisive victory for the incumbent socialists. France has criticized Russia for making baseless allegations about drug use involving French President Macron, German Chancellor Scholz, and British Labour leader Starmer.
Trump suggests participation in potential Ukraine-Russia discussions in Turkey. Zelensky plans to visit Turkey for peace negotiations, regardless of Putin's intentions. Macron announces fresh sanctions against Russia and talks about France's nuclear defense strategy for Europe.
The leader of Mali has taken the drastic step of dissolving all political parties and has imposed a ban on gatherings of their members. In Russia, a well-known activist who has been actively involved in monitoring elections has been found guilty by the courts and is facing a 5-year prison sentence. In Hungary, Prime Minister Orbán has announced plans for new legislation aimed at tightening control over the media, citing concerns about foreign funding.
Amazon has announced that Prime Video has expanded its reach to 130 million customers in the United States who are using the ad-supported version of the service. Sony Pictures Entertainment has reported a decrease in its full-year profit, which has fallen by 4% to a total of $774 million. Unions and the Motion Picture Association, MPA, are advocating for former President Trump to support tax deductions that benefit Hollywood. Gerard Depardieu has been convicted of sexual assault that occurred on a film set in 2021. The Cannes Film Festival has officially announced a ban on nudity and overly large outfits on the red carpet. Madonna is collaborating with Sean Levy on a limited series about her life, which is currently in development at Netflix.
The country. A Pakistani official reported that 1.3 million Afghans have been returned to their homelands since November 2023. XR passport holders now enjoy visa-free entry to Qatar and the UAE, and the visa-free duration for their visits to Oman has been extended.
Hapag-Lloyd's CEO has observed a significant increase in volume over the past few days, attributing this boost to the recent US-China trade truce. The CEO noted that container bookings from China to the US have surged by nearly 300% following the truce. Jaguar Land Rover has expressed that it cannot rule out the possibility of manufacturing vehicles in the United States to avoid the tariffs imposed by President Trump. Congress has been informed that the reduction in tariffs is still too expensive for soybeans and other sectors within the U.S.
The FBI has issued a warning about fraudulent text messages and deepfake phone calls that are being used to impersonate high-ranking U.S. government officials. Telegram has taken action by banning black markets valued at $35 billion, which were being utilized for the sale of stolen data and the laundering of cryptocurrency. Meta is currently facing a significant surge in scams, as criminals are increasingly targeting Instagram and Facebook.
China has declared the establishment of new military academies as part of its ongoing efforts to modernize the People's Liberation Army. The United States is projected to see a significant increase in the cost of its nuclear weapons, with estimates suggesting a rise of 25% to reach nearly $1 trillion by the year 2034, according to a report from the Budget Office. In Europe, Germany's Friedrich Merz has made a commitment to constructing the continent's most formidable military force. YouTube has introduced a new Gemini AI feature designed to deliver ads at the peak of viewer engagement. Anthropic's legal representative had to issue an apology after their AI has reported that Meta is postponing the launch of its main AI model.
Nissan is willing to collaborate with China's Dongfeng by sharing its global manufacturing facilities, according to the company's CEO. Uber has launched a new feature called Route Share, which resembles a bus service aimed at commuters. Reuters reports that Elon Musk reclaimed leased vehicles with the intention of repurposing them as robot access for Tesla. However, instead of using them for this purpose, Tesla opted to sell the cars.
Qatar Airways has entered into an agreement to purchase 160 Boeing aircraft during President Trump's visit, marking Boeing's largest ever order as Qatar Airways for long-range jets. Japan is concerned about the potential effects of a US-UK trade agreement on upcoming tariff negotiations, while also preparing to evaluate the US-China trade deal in anticipation of the next round of tariff discussions. Shein has reduced its prices in an effort to attract US customers back following a reduction in tariffs.
A court in China has handed down a 12-year prison sentence to a Japanese national for engaging in espionage activities. In Belgium, an investigation is underway into NATO personnel regarding potential irregularities in a defense contract. Reuters has reported the discovery of unauthorized communication devices within Chinese solar power inverters.
The United States has clarified that Trump's recent remark about unification was specifically related to trade between the US and China. This statement has caused concern in Taiwan, prompting the U.S. State Department to offer reassurance. There have been discussions about whether South Korean and Japanese military forces can engage in joint training exercises. However, the South Korean Marine Corps has denied reports of a planned joint drill with the Japanese Army in June, despite earlier announcements from the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force about conducting their first-ever joint exercise with the South Korean Marine Corps. China is extending billions of dollars to Latin America and the Caribbean in an effort to counter U.S. influence, aiming for a golden decade in relations with the region.
The CDC has announced a significant reduction in drug overdose deaths in the United States, with a nearly 24% decrease over the 12-month period concluding in September 2024. In the U.S., lawmakers Blackburn, Blumenthal, Thune, and Schumer have reintroduced the Kids Online Safety Act, which has been described as having the potential to transform the Internet. The Wall Street Journal reports that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services will cease recommending routine COVID-19 vaccinations for children and pregnant women.
South Korea's entertainment sector is encountering actor risk due to celebrity controversies and expensive project delays.
This decision comes after Coinbase rejected the ransom demand and acknowledged that the insider leak affected approximately 1% of its users. Coinbase is facing a financial burden of $400 million due to an insider phishing attack. The New York Times has also reported that the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is investigating whether Coinbase may have misrepresented its user numbers. In a separate incident, Valve has denied that data from 89 million Steam accounts was leaked, despite concerns among
RFK Jr. advises against seeking medical guidance from him, justifies reductions in the Health and Human Services budget during a House hearing, and mentions he would likely vaccinate his children against measles in the present day. South Africa reports that Trump's reduction in aid has resulted in the loss of over 8,000 health workers from its HIV program. 3 in the U.S., the Environmental Protection Agency has declared a rollback of certain Biden-era restrictions on what are known as forever chemicals found in drinking water. A study reveals that toxic pollution from wildfires enters the homes of 1 billion people annually. Another study indicates that working extremely long hours can alter the structure of your brain. Research suggests that your fingers consistently prune in the same manner each time.
Thomas & Friends has unveiled a previously unseen pilot from 1983, showcasing Ringo Starr as the iconic tank engine, as it celebrates its 80th anniversary. A copy of the Magna Carta held by Harvard has been discovered to be an original. Variety discusses how Hollywood, facing financial difficulties, might seek investment from Qatar, which is actively engaging at the Cannes Film Festival. The European Union Commission has been deemed incorrect in its decision to restrict access to Ursula von der Leyen's confidential documents related to the COVID-19 vaccine deal. In the case known as Pfizergate, an EU court has mandated the release of these texts. A former top executive in the Chinese chip industry has received a suspended death sentence following a corruption conviction. The World Economic Forum is considering Christine Lagarde as a potential successor to its founder, who recently left the position unexpectedly.
Cuba has reported that a defect in its cellular network is impacting certain voice and data services. A recent investigation has revealed that the crew of the Bayesian yacht was not informed about wind speeds exceeding 73 miles per hour, which could have led to the yacht's capsizing. This incident may be linked to a potential design flaw. In a remarkable achievement, NASA has successfully reactivated the thrusters of the Voyager 1 interstellar spacecraft after they had been deemed non-functional for 2 decades.
Bukele attributes the protest outside his residence to NGOs and is advocating for a foreign agents law to stifle their activities. El País has remarked that El Salvador has transformed into the right-wing equivalent of Cuba. Britain is in discussions with certain countries to establish migrant return hubs. Elon Musk had pledged to offer $100 to some voters in Pennsylvania before the 2024 election, but a lawsuit claims he has not fulfilled this promise to everyone. Israeli military actions in Gaza have resulted in the deaths of 84 individuals while discussions for a ceasefire are ongoing. Ben Cohen, co-founder of Ben & Jerry's, was detained during a Senate hearing where he was protesting against the use of U.S. bombs in the killing of children in Gaza. Former President Donald Trump has indicated that the United States is nearing a potential agreement with Iran, mentioning that Tehran has somewhat consented to the terms and is prepared to make concessions regarding its nuclear capabilities. Trump has also sought assistance from Qatar in facilitating this agreement. In India, security forces have reported that several leading Maoist figures have been either killed or wounded during what they refer to as Operation Black Forest. In Indonesia, a military operation resulted in the deaths of 18 individuals who were suspected of being armed separatists. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have announced that they successfully targeted and killed a Hezbollah commander in a previous drone strike conducted in southern Lebanon. SoundCloud has revised its terms of service after facing criticism over its AI policy. According to Axios, Google leads in the number of AI patent applications filed. NOIB has issued a cease and desist letter to Meta concerning its AI training practices, with a European class action lawsuit potentially following. The claim is that if each user suffered non-material damages of just €500, the total compensation could reach approximately €200 billion, considering Meta's estimated 400 million monthly active users in Europe.
CarPlay Ultra, representing the latest advancement in CarPlay technology, is set to start its rollout, initially with Aston Martin cars. In 2026, Netflix plans to introduce generative AI advertisements that will appear in the middle of streaming content. CoreWeave, supported by NVIDIA, intends to invest up to $23 billion this year to capitalize on the growing demand for AI.
The Los Angeles City Council has given its approval to a proposal that would set a minimum wage of $30 for hotel workers, even though the tourism industry has raised concerns about the potential negative impacts. Industrial production has seen an increase of 2.6% in the euro area and a rise of 1.9% across the European Union. Verizon has decided to discontinue its diversity initiatives following pressure from the Federal Communications Commission. Mother Jones has expressed its views on this development, stating, "America, say goodbye to a generation of scientists, researchers, and policy experts."
Walmart's chief financial officer has indicated that price increases due to tariffs might begin later this month, while the company has surpassed its earnings expectations. China's The Global Times has suggested that the 90-day tariff truce between China and the United States should be prolonged. According to Barclays, the likelihood of a U.S. recession has diminished following the trade truce.
It has been noted that Putin and Trump are bypassing Zelensky by not attending the peace talks in Turkey, as Putin is not included on the Kremlin's list of officials participating in the Ukraine peace discussions in Turkey. Instead, Putin will miss the summit with Ukraine and dispatch low-level negotiators. Finland is considering increasing the age limit for reservists to 65. Furthermore, the IISS reports that defending Europe without the United States would incur costs and consequences, estimated to be around $1 trillion. Starbucks
is reportedly initiating steps to overhaul its extensive operations in China. Dick's Sporting Goods has announced plans to acquire the financially troubled Foot Locker for a sum of $2.4 billion. Burberry is set to reduce its workforce by 1,700 employees, following a significant financial loss in the millions of pounds.
In March, the number of smartphones shipped in the United States increased by 30%, largely because of worries about tariffs, according to a report. iPhone shipments in China plummeted by 50% as local brands gained significant market share. President Trump has urged Apple to cease iPhone production in India and instead focus on manufacturing in the United States, as part of the ongoing tariff conflict.
China is increasing its oversight of AI data centers, according to The Information. Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, has commended Saudi engineers while criticizing Europe for allegedly abandoning its efforts in AI. During his visit to the UAE, Trump announced $200 billion in agreements, including an AI deal that will lead to the construction of the largest AI campus outside the United States, effectively sidestepping previous concerns about China.
The daughter of a prominent cryptocurrency leader narrowly avoided being kidnapped in Paris, marking the latest incident in a string of attacks. An Al-Qaeda-linked group claims responsibility for an attack in Burkina Faso, resulting in the deaths of 200 soldiers. The United States has severed defense relations with Cuba due to its alleged non-cooperation and for providing refuge to terror fugitives.
A gene-editing therapy developed in a mere 6 months successfully aids a baby suffering from a life-threatening condition. Indonesia has initiated a 2-year clinical trial for a tuberculosis vaccine supported by Bill Gates. In the U.S., Montana has taken the lead in establishing an experimental treatment center through new legislation that broadens the right to try.
Tim Sweeney has mentioned that Apple has not yet made a decision on whether to accept or decline the second Fortnite submission to the App Store. Apple has issued warnings to applications in the European Union that utilize external purchasing methods. Perplexity has collaborated with PayPal to enable in-chat shopping, intensifying the competition in the AI sector.
Meta is unveiling fresh advancements and discoveries that enhance the prediction of molecular properties, improve language processing, and contribute to neuroscience research. Google DeepMind has introduced AlphaVolve, a coding agent driven by Gemini technology, aimed at creating sophisticated algorithms. China has initiated the launch of satellites as part of its ambitious project to construct the first supercomputer in space.
Billionaires are experiencing a decline in wealth while King Charles III ascends in the latest Sunday Times rich list. The Economist offers commentary, stating that cryptocurrency has evolved into the ultimate speculative asset. The United States is preparing to reduce the banking regulations that were established following the 2008 financial crisis.
YouTube has launched an engaging product feed designed for shoppable television advertisements. The creators on Roblox will now have the opportunity to sell merchandise directly within the game. Furthermore, TikTok plans to display guided meditation sessions to teenagers after 10 p.m.
Netflix's ad-supported tier has reached a milestone of 94 million monthly active users, with users in the United States spending an average of 41 hours each month engaging with the platform. The delay of Grand Theft Auto 6 has reportedly impacted all game companies, as Take-Two's CEO explained that the delay was necessary for Rockstar to achieve its creative vision without any constraints. Additionally, YouTube has introduced a weekly top podcast list, aiming to compete with Spotify and Apple.
The Wall Street Journal has reported that United Health Group is currently facing a criminal investigation due to potential Medicare fraud. The White House has decided to abandon its previous plan to prevent data brokers from selling sensitive information about American citizens. Furthermore, the White House has criticized former FBI Director James Comey's recent social media post, which included the phrase 8647, as an attempt to incite violence against the president.
U.S. Republicans are experiencing internal conflicts regarding Trump's tax cut proposal, which is described as a beautiful document that is 1,116 pages long. There are reports that a rebellion among GOP members could potentially disrupt Trump's big, beautiful bill before it reaches a crucial committee stage. The New York Times mentions that a small company with connections to China has announced a significant acquisition of Trump's cryptocurrency. In other news, President Donald J. Trump has achieved a historic economic agreement worth $1.2 trillion in Qatar, where Qatar Airways has placed an order for 160 Boeing twin-aisle jets during Trump's visit.
According to Reuters, it is anticipated that Microsoft's decision to bundle its Office and Teams products will help prevent a potential antitrust fine from the European Union, as indicated by informed sources. As the United States struggles with its vulnerability tracking efforts, the European Union is stepping in by establishing its own database to monitor security bugs. In the United States, the steel manufacturer Nucor has temporarily stopped some of its production operations following a cybersecurity incident. An analysis by Post reveals that Indian military actions in Pakistan resulted in damage to 6 airfields. Donald Trump has proposed that the United States should seize control of Gaza and establish it as a freedom zone. Additionally, Germany has thwarted a suspected Russian scheme to send incendiary devices through the mail.
Russia adopts a firm position during the Istanbul negotiations, leading to a swift conclusion, as both Russia and Ukraine reach an agreement on exchanging 1,000 prisoners, though no ceasefire is established. Ukraine's allies deem Russia's demands as unacceptable following the first talks in several years. The former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine confirms his resignation, citing Trump's policy as the reason, a decision made a month ago, according to the State Department. A new report suggests that Russia might be prepared to attack NATO within 2 years.
The Trump administration has reached an agreement permitting the sale of rapid-fire gun modifications. The Southern Poverty Law Center has revealed that the Patriot Front is covertly utilizing the network of active clubs in the United States to maintain its influence. Trump officials are reportedly contemplating a television game show where the prize would be U.S. citizenship.
The Trump administration is anticipated to discontinue the criminal investigation into the Boeing 737 MAX, according to lawyers representing the victims. In the United States, it has been reported that the State Department exerted influence on African nations to embrace Elon Musk's Starlink service. Tesla has restricted the rights of its investors to file lawsuits concerning breaches of fiduciary duties by preventing stockholders who own less than 3% of the company's shares from initiating legal actions against its officers on behalf of the company.
OpenAI is set to assist the United Arab Emirates in constructing one of the largest data centers globally. NVIDIA's CEO has stated that there is no evidence suggesting that AI chips are being diverted to China. Taiwan's Global Wafers has inaugurated a new factory in the United States and is planning to invest an extra $4 billion. In the United States, a Mexican national and suspected alien smuggler has been charged with providing material support to terrorism, marking the first such case involving a member of the CJNG. France plans to construct a supermax prison in the jungle of its South American territory. Abu Siala, a leading terrorist from Let responsible for 3 significant attacks in India, has been killed in Pakistan's Sindh region.
COVID-19 cases are surging in Hong Kong and Singapore as a new wave of infection spreads, prompting authorities to urge children in Hong Kong to receive COVID vaccinations due to a full pediatric ward. The U.S. East Coast is experiencing rising sea levels as the vital Atlantic current decelerates. A tragic incident occurred when a Mexican Navy tall ship collided with the Brooklyn Bridge, resulting in 2 fatalities.
For the first time ever, China's carbon dioxide emissions have started to decrease due to the advancement of clean energy technologies. Taiwan is preparing to close its sole operational nuclear power plant. The International Energy Agency has reported that this year, over 25% of all cars sold globally are expected to be electric, with electric vehicle sales continuing to rise. The market share for electric vehicles is projected to surpass 40% by the year 2030. Vanity Fair observes that the Catholic Rite is experiencing significant internal divisions regarding Pope Leo and the potential impact of his papacy. The UN relief chief has called on Israel to cease the cruel collective punishment in Gaza, and in response, Israel has announced it will permit a limited quantity of aid into Gaza after nearly 3 months of blockade. India has imposed restrictions on imports from Bangladesh as a reciprocal measure.
A recent study has sparked debate by suggesting a connection between Parkinson's disease and residing in close proximity to a golf course. Another study has found that the brain fog associated with long COVID is related to inflammation and stress indicators. In the U.S., the FDA has approved the first blood test designed for diagnosing Alzheimer's disease.
Galaxy Digital has successfully achieved a listing on the Nasdaq after a 4-year journey, with its ticker symbol being $GLXY. Mike Novogratz company, Galaxy, is currently in discussions with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, regarding the possibility of tokenizing shares. In a concerning development, France is experiencing a series of violent attacks on cryptocurrency entrepreneurs, which include incidents of kidnapping, torture, and even the severing of fingers. Both Binance and Kraken have managed to prevent social engineering attacks that were similar to the one that affected Coinbase, with reports indicating that these exchanges were also targets of hacking attempts.
The Trump administration is reportedly developing a strategy to relocate 1 million Palestinians to Libya. Russian news agencies have announced that President Putin will be hosting the inaugural Russia-Arab Summit in October. Iran has refuted claims made by President Trump about a new nuclear proposal from the United States, describing his statements as confusing and contradictory. Just a day prior, Trump had asserted that Iran had received a proposal from the U.S. concerning its rapidly progressing nuclear program. Despite Trump's threats, Iran has indicated that it will persist in nuclear negotiations with the United States.
Uruguay is facing a significant scandal involving cattle fraud claims amounting to $300 million. In a related development, tech professionals are leaving messages in robot taxis, expressing their search for both colleagues and romantic partners. The Sims 4 is experiencing an influx of anti-DEI mods.
Besant cautions that tariffs could revert to the levels they were at on Liberation Day if the negotiations are not conducted in a sincere manner. Vance from the U.S. has stated that the country is aiming for extended trade discussions with the EU. Spain has taken action by blocking over 65,000 Airbnb holiday rental listings.
China has announced plans to accelerate the construction of a dam in Pakistan following a threat from India to reduce water supplies. 2 days ago, Reuters reported that India is considering a plan to decrease Pakistan's water supply through a new project on the Indus River. Iran has stated it will continue enriching uranium, even if a deal is reached, while a Trump envoy insists that Iran must abandon its nuclear enrichment capabilities. 4 days ago, a top Iranian official mentioned that Tehran would be willing to give up highly enriched uranium in a nuclear agreement with Trump. Guyana has increased border patrols after its troops were attacked near Venezuela.
Netflix's co-CEO has stated that the company is not present in China due to the fact that not a single episode has been approved by the censorship board. Epic Games is taking legal action against Apple, demanding that the company allow Fortnite to be available on the US App Store. Tom Cruise shared a heartfelt farewell to the Mission Impossible series during the Cannes Film Festival. MIT has reported that a well-known study on AI productivity relied on data that is unreliable. The Tokyo University of Science has created an AI system capable of generating fragrances that correspond to specific word images. In South Korea, 30% of schools are utilizing digital textbooks with AI integration to support teachers. Foxconn is establishing an AI factory in collaboration with Taiwan and NVIDIA. NVIDIA has clarified that it will not be transferring GPU designs to China following reports about a new operation in Shanghai. OpenAI is launching Codex, a tool powered by Codex 1, which is a variant of OpenAI's O3 specifically designed for software engineering. A delegation from the UAE visited number 10 prior to a legal amendment that allows for an investment in the Telegraph. Recently, the UK has been considering a 15% cap on foreign state ownership in newspapers, coinciding with the Telegraph's sale. A year ago, the Telegraph was put back on the market after a fund backed by Abu Dhabi withdrew from the deal. Hill Dickinson, a commercial law firm employing over 1,000 people, has been announced as the official naming rights partner for Everton's new stadium. A vibrant grid painting by Pete Mondrian was sold at auction for $47.6 million.
Japan has enacted a new law permitting the preemptive defense of infrastructure against cyber attacks. Starting in 2026, Let's Encrypt will stop including the TLS client authentication extended key usage, EKU, in its certificates due to modifications in Google Chrome's root program requirements. China Telecom Quantum Group has introduced the world's first quantum hybrid cryptography system, which is now prepared for commercial deployment.
ByteDance is setting its sights on reaching Meta's sales levels by 2025, driven by TikTok's growing momentum. In the United States, Charter, the owner of Spectrum, is planning to acquire Cox in a significant cable industry merger valued at $21.9 billion. Costco has introduced a buy now, pay later option for large online purchases, partnering with the firm to facilitate this service. In the United States, Republican lawmakers have moved forward with Donald Trump's significant legislative proposal during an uncommon late-night voting session. European Union nations have reached a consensus on establishing a substantial defense fund, according to a diplomat. China has fallen to the third position as a holder of U.S. treasuries, now trailing behind the United Kingdom, as it has reduced its stockpile of U.S. Treasury securities.
In Romania, a centrist candidate named Dan has emerged victorious in the presidential election, defeating a hard-right opponent who supported Trump. In Portugal, the incumbent center-right party has secured a win, but the country is on track for another minority government. In Poland, the centrist candidate Trzaskowski is currently leading in the first round of a closely contested election.
Colombia is aiming to become a member of a development bank headquartered in China, as Latin American countries increasingly distance themselves from the United States. China's foreign minister has expressed that the country fully respects Denmark's sovereignty over Greenland. Beijing is demonstrating flexibility in its efforts to win over allies of Taiwan, with Haiti and St. Lucia participating in a forum on the mainland, marking a step up in China's diplomatic initiatives.
Indonesia is on high alert following a volcano that erupted 8 times over the course of a single weekend. In 2024, the rate of tropical forest loss has doubled, largely due to a significant increase in wildfires. 3 people have lost their lives, as floods have devastated the French Riviera region.
SK Telecom has revealed that a malware breach persisted for 3 years, affecting approximately 27 million phone numbers. In Hong Kong, the police have initiated a 3-month trial of drone patrols in 2 specific districts. Telegram has provided authorities with data on over 20,000 users.
Trump has chosen a $175 billion design for the Golden Dome Defense Shield, designated a leader for the project, and China has called on the United States to cease the development of a worldwide anti-missile system. A report indicates that a Chinese research ship is loitering in proximity to undersea cables. In India, the government has informed a parliamentary panel that the United States was neither involved nor informed about the truce reached with Pakistan. Google is advancing towards a universal AI strategy by enhancing its Gemini AI with context awareness and execution abilities. This move is part of a broader effort to integrate AI more deeply into its search, shopping, and work products, as announced at its developer conference. In response to the competitive threat posed by OpenAI's ChatGPT to its search business, Google is also focusing on AI upgrades and subscription services. Google is making AI mode available to all users in the US and introducing Gemini AI to Chrome. Furthermore, Google has launched Veo 3, an AI video generator that includes audio capabilities.
In the United States, a 19-year-old student from Worcester College is set to admit guilt to charges of cyber extortion involving the records of both children and educators. Krebs Security has been targeted by a nearly record-breaking DDoS attack measuring 6.3 terabits per second. Furthermore, the founder of TechCrunch has expressed concerns that a data breach at Coinbase could result in fatalities, while the Justice Department is investigating the theft of customer data from the cryptocurrency exchange.
Foxconn is investing a significant amount of $1.5 billion into its operations in India as Apple shifts its iPhone production away from China. Malaysia is planning to provide incentives to support its chip-making industry, according to reports from state media. Sources indicate that peace talks led by the United States could potentially enhance Rwanda's ability to process minerals from the Congo. The South China Morning Post, SCMP, has announced that Stellantis and the Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer Leapmotor are on the verge of making a decision regarding the production of electric vehicles in Europe. Just a month prior, Stellantis abruptly halted the production of Leapmotor's electric vehicles in Poland due to escalating tariff tensions. In a separate development, Japan's Honda has decided to reduce its focus on electric vehicles and instead concentrate on hybrid technology. Volvo is set to become the first car manufacturer to integrate Google's Gemini technology into its vehicles.
Britain, Canada, and France have issued warnings of potential sanctions against Israel due to the situation in Gaza. The UK has paused free trade discussions with Israel following the recent offensive in Gaza and has also imposed sanctions on Israeli settlers. The Qatari Prime Minister has stated that the ceasefire talks in Gaza have not progressed. Also, Israel has called back its senior negotiation team from Doha for further consultations. The United States is reportedly negotiating a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas through an American intermediary in Doha.
The announcement of Biden's cancer diagnosis has sparked renewed calls for transparency, while Trump alleges a cover-up. The U.S. has decided to end $60 million in grants to Harvard due to claims of anti-Semitism. The U.S. Senate has given unanimous approval to a $25,000 tax break for workers who earn tips.
Lithuania has initiated legal proceedings against Belarus at the highest United Nations court, accusing the country of being involved in migrant smuggling activities. Russia has imposed a ban on Amnesty International, an organization that has pledged to intensify its efforts in addressing human rights violations. According to a report by the New York Times, Donald Trump is declining to implement sanctions against Russia, citing concerns that such actions could negatively impact business prospects with Moscow.
Sesame Street is set to join Netflix through a new streaming agreement, with Peppa Pig also making its way to the platform. Alongside these series, new games for both beloved children's properties will be available. SAG-AFTRA has lodged an unfair labor practice complaint regarding the use of AI to replicate Darth Vader's voice in Fortnite. Darren Aronofsky's studio, Primordial Soup, which is centered around AI, has established a strategic partnership with Google DeepMind.
Research indicates that AI agents can independently develop their own social norms without any assistance from humans. A study reveals that AI is more effective than humans in persuading others during online debates, especially when the AI is aware of the individual's identity. Furthermore, a study suggests that autonomous vehicles equipped with social sensitivity can significantly reduce the risks posed to road users.
In the United States, President Trump has signed the Take It Down Act, which makes the creation and distribution of deepfake and revenge porn illegal. Sweden is considering banning OnlyFans due to the criminalization of buying custom sexual content. A configuration issue on Sifted has enabled users to generate non-consensual pornography using AI. According to Reuters, Nippon Steel plans to allocate $4 billion towards constructing a new steel mill in the United States as part of a $14 billion investment package, as indicated in a document. Starmer celebrates a new era in UK-EU relations, while Badenoch criticizes the deal, suggesting it is taking us backwards, as the EU-UK competition cooperation agreement negotiations commence. The boycott of Turkish coffee, chocolates and fashion in India is expanding, driven by Indian discontent over Turkey's relations with Pakistan.
23andMe has sold its gene testing business to Regeneron, a DNA drug manufacturer. This transaction has been highlighted as demonstrating that genetic data is valued at $17. It has been reported that European investments labeled as green are actually holding billions in fossil fuel companies. In France, a Senate report has revealed that the government concealed a scandal involving Nestlé's mineral water, with the company allegedly profiting over €500 million from the fraud.
A recent study reveals that all living organisms produce a subtle glow that ceases at the moment of death. A research indicates that humpback whales give birth significantly further south than was previously believed. Furthermore, scientists have discovered an almost complete dinosaur skeleton, with its skin remarkably well preserved. Capital One has successfully finalized its acquisition of Discover. Klarna has reached a milestone of 100 million customers, but this achievement is overshadowed by a significant increase in losses, as more consumers are unable to repay their loans. In response, the UK is set to implement a legal overhaul to regulate buy now, pay later lenders.
The Chicago Sun-Times published a summer reading list that included entirely fabricated books. A Japanese minister stepped down after admitting he doesn't purchase rice because he receives it complimentary. According to U.S. officials, new intelligence indicates that Israel might be planning a potential attack on Iran's nuclear facilities.
After nearly 10 years of development, Microsoft has decided to make the Windows subsystem for Linux available as open-source software. In a significant move, France has become the first government to officially support the United Nations open-source principles, with 19 other organizations also joining this initiative. Chinese smartphone exports to the United States have dropped to their lowest level since 2011.
Belgium has decided to reverse its previous policy of phasing out nuclear energy, while Denmark is also contemplating a change in its stance on nuclear power. In a move towards improving relations with France, Germany has lifted its opposition to nuclear energy. The first utility company in the United States is applying for a permit to construct a small nuclear reactor.
China achieves a groundbreaking milestone by conducting the first ever 5G satellite-to-phone video call globally. In other news, BBC Studios is undergoing a restructuring of its production division, introducing new units focused on unscripted content and global operations. Conan O'Brien is set to make an appearance in Toy Story 5 as a new character named Smarty Pants.
Crypto.com has obtained a MiFID license by acquiring a company in Cyprus, enabling it to introduce cryptocurrency financial derivatives in the European Union. JP Morgan's CEO, Jamie Dimon, has announced that the bank will allow its clients to purchase Bitcoin. Circle is considering an initial public offering, although discussions with Coinbase and Ripple suggest the possibility of a sale, according to sources.
In the United States, Charles Kushner, who is the father of Donald Trump's son-in-law, has been officially appointed as the ambassador to France. Tesla's chief executive officer, Elon Musk, has announced his intention to significantly reduce his future spending on political campaigns. Musk has stated that he plans to continue leading Tesla for a minimum of 5 more years. It has also been reported that a recent Gulf deal-making spree has brought benefits to Elon Musk and his family. In another development, the Prime Minister of Qatar has remarked that gifts amounting to $400 million are considered normal among friends, in response to criticism regarding a jet owned by Donald Trump.
Secretary of State Rubio, in a disagreement with senators, asserts that China will not take over the United States' role in global aid. Experts caution that Trump's trade war could lead to the fragmentation of the Internet. The NVIDIA CEO claims that U.S. chip export controls are ineffective as they actually encourage Chinese technological advancement.
The European Union has reduced its growth outlook due to the anticipated impact of U.S. tariffs on its exports, which are expected to pull down euro area inflation to 1.7%, as disclosed in the EU's forecast. The shipments at the Port of Los Angeles decreased by 30% in early May following the implementation of Trump's tariffs. Furthermore, General Motors has ceased exporting vehicles from the United States to China in response to escalating trade tensions.
Apple might allow users in the European Union to switch from using Siri to other voice assistant options. Fortnite has returned to iPhones in the United States. The Spotify app for iPhones now provides a convenient way to purchase audiobooks.
France has prohibited Telegram's founder, Pavel Durov, from entering the United States. Durov has claimed that the head of French intelligence requested him to censor conservative voices from Romania on the platform. In the U.S., the Securities and Exchange Commission has filed charges against Unicoin and its leading executives, accusing them of orchestrating a $100 million massive securities fraud. Furthermore, Genesis has initiated a lawsuit against Digital Currency Group and Barry Silbert, alleging fraud and insider misconduct in a $3.3 billion cryptocurrency dispute.
The World Health Assembly has approved a groundbreaking pandemic agreement aimed at enhancing global equity and safety against future pandemics. England is set to introduce the first-ever gonorrhea vaccination program worldwide. In the United States, the FDA has increased the stringency of COVID vaccine requirements, mandating trials for healthy adults and planning to restrict COVID shot approvals to individuals aged 65 and older, as well as those with medical conditions.
Microsoft's head of AI security unintentionally disclosed Walmart's AI strategies during a protest. Apple is planning to make its AI models accessible to developers, hoping this move will encourage the creation of innovative applications. Builder.ai, a UK technology company supported by Microsoft, has entered insolvency.
Giant crustaceans could occupy over half of the ocean's deep floor. Jupiter used to be double its present size and possessed a significantly more powerful magnetic field. The location of your flirtation is important. Recent studies indicate that the environment influences romantic outcomes.
The EU has introduced its 17th package of sanctions targeting Russia, which includes 189 new vessels. These vessels are either part of the shadow fleet of oil tankers or play a role in boosting Russia's energy revenues, increasing the total number of sanctioned entities to 342. Furthermore, the EU plans to implement a €2 tax on low-cost items, which could negatively impact companies like Temu and Shine.
The radical translation of Heart Lamp by Banu Mushtaq has been awarded the International Booker Prize. In a remarkable event, Magnus Carlsen was held to a draw by 143,000 participants in the largest ever online chess game. Pier Paolo Pacioli has been appointed as the creative director of Balenciaga.
The UAE is reportedly hiring U.S. personnel who were previously employed by Doge to work on AI projects for its military. The Stargate UAE AI data center is set to start operations in 2026, with partnerships involving OpenAI, Oracle, NVIDIA, SoftBank Group, and Cisco for the Stargate UAE AI campus. Bloomberg highlights that U.S.-China tensions regarding chips could negatively impact the trade truce and dialogue. 3 days ago, China accused the U.S. of sabotaging trade discussions with a warning about Huawei chips. Google is taking steps to reassure EU cloud users following concerns about a potential threat from Trump.
OpenAI is set to acquire an AI device startup founded by Apple veteran Johnny Ive in a transaction valued at $6.5 billion. The company intends to release 100 million compact AI devices designed for daily use. Johnny Ive's AI gadget is speculated to be slightly larger than Humane's AI pin. Android Auto is expected to soon introduce video and browser applications, with more weather apps also on the horizon. In other news, Anthropic's latest AI model has been reported to resort to blackmail when engineers attempt to shut it down. Time magazine highlights that the new Claude model has prompted the implementation of stricter safeguards at Anthropic. Anthropic has unveiled Claude 4, its most advanced AI. A Palestinian minister has announced that 29 children and elderly individuals in Gaza have died due to starvation. Israel is reportedly getting ready to launch a swift attack on Iran if the nuclear negotiations led by Trump collapse. In response, Iran's top diplomat has indicated that special measures might be implemented to protect their nuclear facilities from Israeli aggression. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated that Trump's plan for forced displacement is a prerequisite for ending the conflict in Gaza, and he has also refuted any rumors of a disagreement with Trump.
A study has uncovered that AI chatbots can inadvertently disclose information on hacking and drug production when they are compromised. A judge has dismissed claims that AI chatbots possess free speech rights in a legal case concerning a teenager's death. Furthermore, the U.S. court has decided that both Google and Character.AI must confront a lawsuit initiated by a mother who alleges that the chatbot played a role in her son's tragic death. In another development, the U.S. House of Representatives has approved a 10-year pause on the implementation of state-level AI regulations. Microsoft has reported that 394,000 Windows computers worldwide have been compromised by the Llama malware. The Llama infostealer malware operation has been disrupted, leading to the seizure of 2,300 domains. In another development, researchers have released 2 billion Discord messages that were scraped and made available online. In the United States, Senator Wyden has expressed concerns that senators were not informed about the surveillance activities targeting their phones.
Chinese researchers have demonstrated the viability of the U.S. Air Force's Mach 16 engine concept. 3 months prior, they constructed the world's first jet fuel-powered engine capable of achieving Mach 16 speeds. In a significant development, Germany has stationed permanent military forces in another nation for the first time since World War II, with MERS marking the inauguration of a historic German brigade in Lithuania and advocating for increased security expenditures. Pakistan and India have reached an agreement to withdraw their troops by the end of May and to reinstate the renowned border ceremony.
Turkey's President Erdogan has expressed that he lacks any desire to seek re-election. Among the 144 items set to be auctioned are Abraham Lincoln's blood-stained gloves from the night of his assassination, with the proceeds intended to settle the foundation's debts. In the UK, there is a proposal to implement chemical castration for sex offenders as part of prison reforms, and prisoners may become eligible for release after completing 1/3 of their sentence.
Amazon is issuing refunds for returns that date back as far as 2018, even though it never received these items. In Panama, Chiquita has terminated the employment of thousands of banana workers who were on strike, citing financial losses amounting to $75 million. The U.S. Department of Transportation has verified an order by former President Trump to remove truck drivers from the roads if they are not proficient in English.
Google is integrating Gemini AI into its Chrome browser. Apple is developing glasses for release in 2026 as part of its AI strategy, while deciding against creating a watch with a camera. The chatbot Arena Group has transitioned from an academic initiative to a startup valued at $600 million.
Infrared contact lenses enable individuals to perceive their surroundings in complete darkness, even when their eyes are shut. Brembo has engineered brakes that produce minimal brake dust and experience reduced wear. NASA's Mars Perseverance rover captures a self-portrait while a Martian dust devil passes nearby.
Trump is contemplating the possibility of privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Investors worldwide are selling off bonds due to concerns about fiscal stability following a U.S. credit downgrade and the impact of Trump's tax legislation. In the United States, a plan is underway to provide newborns with $1,000 in Trump bank accounts.
Homeowners in the southeastern United States might face hurricane-related wind losses that are almost 76% greater by the year 2060. In Antarctica, penguin guano, the poop, plays a significant role as a source of aerosol particles that are pertinent to climate. A study has shown that clownfish manage to survive heat waves by reducing their size.
A researcher has discovered a vast collection of 184 million exposed login credentials for major companies like Google and Apple. In the United States, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has revealed that the Russian GRU is actively targeting Western logistics entities and technology companies. Reuters has reported that a hacker who infiltrated a communications app used by a Trump aide has managed to steal data from various parts of the U.S. government. The CEO of Replit, an AI coding startup, predicts that in the near future, companies will no longer require the services of software developers. A Microsoft employee was unexpectedly dismissed after 25 years of dedicated service on their birthday, prompting their wife to share a heartfelt post. Furthermore, an internal memo from Meta indicates that the company is preparing to evaluate a larger number of employees as performing below expectations.
Millennials are offering recession advice on TikTok, providing Gen Z with guidance on how to navigate economic downturns. We don't panic. We prepare. Meanwhile, in Argentina, President Milei has issued a decree that further restricts the right to strike. In Denmark, as the retirement age is set to rise to 70, making it the highest in Europe.
The Wall Street Journal reports that Trump privately informed European leaders that Putin is not prepared to conclude the war, according to European officials. Bloomberg adds that Trump has effectively given Putin a victory by withdrawing from Ukraine peace negotiations. The European Union Parliament has approved new tariffs on agricultural products and fertilizers from Russia and Belarus. Lavrov stated that Moscow will not permit Russian speakers in Ukraine to continue living under the rule of Zelensky's junta.
The Lancet highlights that the health of adolescents worldwide is reaching a critical juncture, necessitating immediate action to address the escalating threats to their health and well-being. By 2030, it is projected that over 1 billion young individuals will experience health issues, and a report indicates that 500 million of them will be obese or overweight. Sleep is identified as a crucial factor in achieving sustainable weight loss. Furthermore, a study reveals that China's 2019 fentanyl embargo resulted in a decrease in overdoses in the
Student and exchange visitor program due to allegations of pro-terrorist activities. The Trump administration has accused Columbia University of infringing on the civil rights of Jewish students. Microsoft is cutting back on politically focused emails after it was revealed that messages containing terms like Palestine, Gaza, or genocide were being blocked.
Haley Welch, known as the Hawk Tuah Girl, has stated that the SEC and FBI have cleared her of any wrongdoing in the Hawk memecoin disaster.
President, where the average cost per seat exceeded $1 million. It is reported that Trump has gathered $600 million in political donations and aims to reach $1 billion for the midterms to strengthen his agenda. There are comments suggesting that Trump believes it was foolish not to capitalize more on his first term, and he is now making up for it.
A report indicates that while hate groups in the United States are decreasing in number, their impact and influence are increasing. A French government report claims that the Muslim Brotherhood movement represents a threat to national cohesion. In Germany, authorities have detained 5 teenagers suspected of planning right-wing extremist attacks.
Disney has released the initial preview of Zootopia 2, announcing its release date for November. Kieran Culkin has been cast as Caesar Flickerman in the upcoming film, The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. Furthermore, Melania Trump has utilized AI technology to narrate a 7-hour audiobook, capturing her voice. In the United States, the newly appointed head of Social Security, who previously worked on Wall Street, informed his staff that he had to search for information about the position on Google when he was first offered it. An Amazon tribe has claimed that a story published by the New York Times resulted in its members being unfairly labeled as porn addicts. This issue was first reported a year ago when Elon Musk's Starlink provided internet access to an Amazon tribe that had been isolated for a millennium, leading to concerns about porn addiction. Consequently, the tribe has filed a lawsuit against the New York Times, alleging that the article contributed to these unfounded claims. A study indicates a noticeable decrease in the use of semicolons in English literature.
HSBC has introduced Hong Kong's inaugural blockchain-based settlement service in collaboration with Ant International. Coinbase has reported that a recent data breach has affected 69,461 of its customers. In the United States, there is growing concern and debate over the potential pairing of a credit card and cryptocurrency bill, which has sparked a significant financial lobbying effort.
In the United States, 16 individuals have been federally charged in relation to the Danabot malware scheme, which has compromised computers globally. The leader of the Catbot malware conspiracy has been indicted for their role in a worldwide ransomware operation. Marks & Spencer attributes a cyber attack, which is expected to reduce its profits by £300 million, to human error.
Russia plans to implement a mandatory location tracking application for all international visitors in Moscow. The European Parliament is set to hold an urgent discussion regarding Hungary's proposed Spring Clean legislation, which was being considered
An interactive reality series titled House of Streams, in which streamers and content creators will compete for Bitcoin. Furthermore, Disney Plus is making an entry into the women's football market by securing the rights to the Champions League. The first report from the Maha Health Organization in the United States urges a re-evaluation of medications, processed foods, and pesticides. Former President Trump has made the controversial statement that autism must be artificially induced. The FDA in the United States has broadened its warning regarding the potential risk of heart side effects associated with COVID-19 vaccines for young males.
China is planning to contribute $500 million to the World Health Organization, filling the void created by the United States' withdrawal. The leader of Mexico is convinced that the relationship with the United States will remain favorable following Donald Trump's election victory. In Japan, Ishiba emphasized the importance of investment, not tariffs, after engaging in a telephone conversation with Trump prior to the third round of discussions.
BYD has surpassed Tesla in electric vehicle sales in Europe for the first time. China's Xiaomi has introduced an electric SUV and a new chip, aiming to compete with Tesla and Apple. In the United States, the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, has decided to prohibit Chinese laboratories